In the beginning of this decade, the turnaround of events were not expected, but with businesses opening, festivals going back to normal, the stock market at an all-time high, and governments gaining confidence in a future with less chaos, activities might seem as though they're going back to normal. But a close-up look and reality as we know it might be one of history's revolutionary moments, of which the results will either lead to a new golden moment of opportunities, or this might be the beginning of a new dark age. Bear with me as I take you across multiple events that are bound to change economics and business as we know it. In September 1929, a market crash occurred, what will later come to be known as Black Monday, which will later lead to a 10-year economic depression. That is one of the many economic meltdowns and recessions that have occurred across time, including the recession of 1973, the dot-com bubble of 1999, the depression of 2008, and yes, the economic shutdown of 2020, and probably in the far future. Now that we are having an economic rebound, I will focus on the bigger picture and leave the detailed complex aspect. And considering this is a complex topic and I have limited time, I will narrow down to only the precise. First, there is cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin being the first to be invented by Satoshi Nakamoto in 2009. Since then, hundreds have been created, though some people are skeptical of its sustainability in modern finance, and others optimistic of its financial profitability and capabilities. Despite of the contradiction in those beliefs, the crypto market is quite clear in its direction, as others like Dogecoin have realized record gains in months, and now with the US and Chinese government expected to get into the crypto markets with their own cryptocurrencies, this will lead to governments creating and embracing their own cryptocurrencies as a new mode of payment, while at the same time, governments will criticize the authenticity of those created by individuals and organizations, while at the same time increasing regulations and in extreme cases banning their use, such as China. The crypto market seems to be more complicated with time though, as governments begin production of cryptocurrencies and others like El Salvador embrace Bitcoin. This will lead to a modern way of investment in finance. Then there is China with its Belt and Road Initiative, which plans to maximize efficiency of modern business production with a logistic system based on the old idea of the Silk Road that existed in the 15th century. Now, with the Belt and Road expected to impact 60% of global economy, including Asia, Africa, and Europe, this idea may now have competition after the G7 meeting in June 2021. The Western leaders have decided to mobilize a team championed by US and Joe Biden to be specific, in creating a system by the name Build Better World, which plans to narrow down 40 trillion worth of infrastructure gap with poorer nations, with its main agenda to offer value-driven partnerships, though it's currently abstract and requires time before it's accepted by developing countries. Only then will it materialize. Yet, it's expected to rival Xi Jinping's ambitious $4 trillion project, which was first announced in 2013.
Take an innovative approach and jointly build an economic belt along the Silk Road.
And with China expected to bypass the US as a dominant power this decade, many are worried of the ruthless control of the Communist Party of China, such as taking the port of Sri Lanka for a lease of 99 years, and Djibouti's military base after they were unable to repay their debt, and not forgetting the debt trap that is moving across developing countries. Lastly, there is the high debt that many governments have accrued during the lockdown to keep the economies running. While it may seem necessary, considering the governments were pushed to the edge in making this difficult decision, though many governments for a long time have had high appetite for debt, such as Argentina, Greece, and Zimbabwe, to name a few, which resulted in them defaulting on their debt, while Japan, on the other hand, with its debt above 200% to GDP, have resulted in a stagnant but stable economy, despite its central bank trying to stimulate growth, and the US having printed more money in 2020 alone than in its 40-year past period to help sustain its citizens. Well, you see, in the 2008 crisis, the government bailed out large corporations, leaving its citizens to fend for themselves.
You have to use overwhelming force because you have to convince people it's safe not to run, not to panic. And to do that, you have to muster a wall of money.
About halfway through the conversation, the president interrupted Hank and directed a question at Ben.
I asked her, we headed for a Great Depression, and Bernanke said, looks that way.
People struggling to pay their mortgages, incomes that haven't gone up, all this strain, and people at the very top walking off, acting like their shit doesn't stink. And that whole attitude is that people think that there are two rule books, one for the elite and one for everybody else. And that started off a populist revolt.
And Chairman Bernanke said to the group, if you don't give Hank Paulson what he needs, within 72 hours, the entire banking system in the United States will fail, and then the world banking system will fail on top of it.
Resulting to demonstrations and protests as many felt betrayed. And now, with the shutdown leading to inevitable economic problems, the Fed decided to make a current historic decision with money printing, though many are skeptical of its long-term impact, as Germany had enjoyed printed money for years till hyperinflation kicked in 1923, though current rates of inflation have been kept under control due to low demand of products, as people prefer to save in fear of a worsening economy, and other factors which require a separate video to explain all the complex details. Now, with all these factors kept into consideration, this might be a time of golden opportunities from new forms of technology and huge government spending on infrastructure, and including the global economy has made outstanding progress to lift people to better living standards, with now 17% of people living in extreme poverty, the lowest in human history, and as some products become cheaper as a result of more people getting into the global workforce, such as Asia and Africa, which in turn increase growth, and things are expected to be better with time. Or this might be a time where governments run on the new complex law of modern monetary theory due to high debt, such as Japan and Italy, of which they have maintained a stagnant and stable economy through the years. It is also becoming clear as the financial system rises and diversifies that the Milton Friedman view of inflation, fluctuation, and money supply is becoming less applicable in these modern days. Or it may be we have not learned from history and we are bent on repeating it. Subscribe to my channel and click on the notification icon for weekly updates on knowledge and insights in business, economics and finance. Have a good deal till next time.